In this video, we will be looking at the top 10 haunted locations within New England. Some of these locations are well known, while others have never been listed. As a quick note, numbers 10 and number 9 are private property and off limits to the public. With that, let's jump into our list. Kimball Castle, located in Guilford, New Hampshire, is number 10 on our list. Kimball Castle is known as one of the Granite State's most haunted locations and is the former summer estate of railroad magnate Benjamin Ames Kimball and has been abandoned since 1960. Originally part of a 300-acre property, which has been split up multiple ways over the years. Benjamin Kimball built the castle and other buildings in 1894, and they were used as his summer estate until his passing in 1920. The property would then remain in the family with his daughter, Charlotte Kimball, into her passing in 1960, when it was donated to the Mary Mitchell Humane Foundation, managed the property as a wildlife preserve and sanctuary. As the years passed, the property would end up in disarray and be abandoned, with many people trespassing on the lot. In 2018, the property was sold to private owners who started renovating it to make it into a wedding venue. When it comes to paranormal activity on the property, there is no shortage. Over the years, locals and former visitors to the castle have reported noises and clocks just starting to work after years of sitting idle. Other reports have also highlighted the lights flickering on and off. As many who have visited the castle report, the spirit that calls the castle home is not exactly inviting to guests and prefers to be left alone. At the time of this writing, the new owners have not reported any paranormal activity since the renovations began. While the castle is no longer open to the public, the stories surrounding the castle can still be found by the locals who have grown up around the area. The White Cemetary, located in the small town of Talmadge, Maine, just outside of Wade and Topsfield, Maine, is a small, privately owned cemetery on Route 1. The cemetery dates back to 1853, with the last burial in 1957. The next door was an illegal junkyard that had existed since the 1960s, and that our parent company and my cousin's company cleaned for over 4 years. During this period, many of us reported paranormal experiences, including voices, full-body apparitions, tools being moved, and even items being placed into threes around the property. To watch for suspicious activity, my company placed a trail cam on the main entrance, and when we checked it, we found the batteries had been drained within 10 minutes of placing the trail cam. When it comes to full-body apparitions, I can personally say I saw a teenage girl dressed in white, who I believe was Ruth White, who passed away at 17 in 1912. Other apparitions include the former property owner, name withheld for his sister's privacy, and voices have included males and females being heard throughout the property. Other activities included knocking and orbs being photographed around the old buses. We know the property has a long history, which is no longer available, but over 40 different individuals have experienced something similar, including my employee, the youngest, being only 16, when she reported seeing and hearing several different things on the property. The most bizarre sighting was a doppelganger sighting in 2016, just 2 years into the cleanup. Without releasing much information for her privacy, this was the first doppelganger sighting reported on the property. And I knew she was not on the property then. While the property today is off limits for the public, the events everyone has experienced, including skeptics, still resonate with each of us. Recently, the cemetery was clear-cut and cleaned up, so we hope this will help the White family finally rest in peace and be able to cross over. We all agree that the spirits on the property could be playful, but never intended to harm anyone. If anything, they were watching out for all of us. At number 8, we have the Sylvester Pierce House in Gardner, Massachusetts. The house was built by Sylvester Pierce, the owner of S.K. Pierce & Sons Furniture Company, who helped make Gardner, Massachusetts the Chair City. The mansion is a 10-bedroom, 7,000-square-foot home built in the 1880s and took 100 men a year and a half to build from the ground up. During mansion construction, Pierce, his wife and son, dreamed of moving into the house, but just a few weeks after moving in, tragedy struck the family when Mrs. Susan Pierce succumbed to a bacterial infection. Mr. Pierce would go on to marry Ellen Pierce just over a year after his first wife's passing, and during this marriage they would go on to have 2 more sons. 1888, tragedy again struck the Pierce family when Sylvester passed away, leaving the mansion and the business to Ellen and their 3 sons. After Ellen's passing, the 3 sons would argue over the ownership of the property for years to come. As the Great Depression moved in, the youngest son, Edward, took control of the business and mansion. Throughout the Depression, the family's wealth dwindled, and Ed changed the home into a boarding house to support the family and keep the mansion. Reports of issues within the mansion during this time included gambling, drinking, murder, and even an account of a young boy drowning in the basement. The most tragic event recorded that can be verified is when a man burned to death in the master bedroom in 1963. Many believe his cause of death was spontaneous combustion, as there was minor damage to the rest of the room. Over the years, many reports of paranormal activity have been recorded, including the spirit of S.K. Pierce, seen throughout the mansion. Other spirits, including Susan, Edward, their maid Mattie Cornwell, and a man named David, have also been seen and heard throughout the mansion. Other spirits include a woman, a young boy, a younger girl who is believed to be a granddaughter of Pierce, and other spirits have been seen throughout the mansion, including the basement. Other reports also list some darker spirits who reside in the basement. Paranormal activity has been recorded to include voices, noises, footsteps, full-body apparitions, doors slamming, window screens flying out of windows, and even chanting, among many others. Today, the mansion is listed in the National Historical Places Registry and is known as one of the most haunted locations in central Massachusetts. The Goldbrook Bridge, also known as Emily's Bridge, is a covered bridge in Stowe, Vermont, which has a haunting history of a young woman named Emily who was supposed to meet a young man she fell in love with. On the night they were supposed to meet on the bridge, he told her to meet him at midnight. Emily is said to have jumped into the river below when he never showed up. While this occurred in 1850, Emily's spirit is often seen on the bridge and the surrounding area. Many have reported seeing a woman walking down the road and across the bridge wearing a white dress. Over the years, the bridge has been investigated by paranormal investigators, and many have captured evidence of Emily's presence. Today, Emily's Bridge is one of Vermont's most haunted locations. At number 6, we find the University of Vermont in Burlington. While many think of college as a place to learn, the University of Vermont is also known as one of the most haunted colleges in New England. Paranormal encounters at the college date back to the 1920s, with multiple buildings being reported as haunted over the years. The first story is of a man who haunts the attic of Converse Hall. The story goes that the student took his life due to the academic pressures at the time, and due to his untimely departure, his soul is trapped within the granite walls of the dormitory. Students and staff have reported sightings, door slamming, unusual noises, and other unexplained events for the last 100 years. Next, we have the Jacobs House, reportedly haunted by a 19th century captain who occupied the building into his death in 1877. Sightings often occur around the stairways, with this gentleman walking down the stairs and soon vanishing afterward. Others have reported the lights being turned on and off in different rooms throughout the day and night, and other strange occurrences. As we move on to the Grass Mount building, we find multiple reports of different spirits who still reside there. Students and staff have reported doors slamming, voices, and other unexplained noises over the last several decades, which has led many to believe the building is haunted, and many of these accounts have picked up since the building was renovated. Other accounts have occurred throughout the campus, including a male spirit that likes to awaken students by staring at them. We also have accounts of a playful spirit and another male spirit who is not too fond of females and has been known to chase students away from certain parts of the building. If you have attended the University of Vermont and experienced paranormal events, please let us know in the comments. Slater Mill, located in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, finds its way on the list at number 5. Slater Mill was built in 1793 by Samuel Slater. Unlike many haunted locations in Rhode Island, Slater Mill is available to tour. When originally in operation, Slater Mill was one of the first textile mills in the United States. Over the years, many paranormal reports about the mill have been recorded, which are believed to stem from the mill's long history and being right on the water. Property consists of 3 buildings, each with its own history and paranormal stories. During the mill's many years of operation, multiple workers would lose their lives during the production of the textiles, and some are still reported as hanging around the mill and the surrounding building. While many people experience different events, the most commonly reported events include seeing child spirits throughout the mill, which are former employees of the Slater Mill, as they were the only ones who could fit into the equipment to fix it when something broke. Others have also reported hearing voices. Moving over to the Sylvanus Brown House on the property, many tourists and paranormal investigators have reported seeing and hearing about a little girl who still resides within the home. Was she an employee of the mill, or did she previously live in the house before it was moved to the site? We are still unsure, as few records still exist from that period. Some of the sounds in the home include hearing a child's footsteps and laughter. Moving to the final building, we find the Wilkinson Mill just as active, if not more active, than the other 2 buildings. The mill is reportedly haunted by multiple spirits, including child spirits and several additional employees who lost their lives within the mill over its lifespan. Tourists and investigators have reported voices, footsteps, full-body apparitions, and other unexplainable events. Today, it is believed many of the souls are trapped within the mill's granite walls, unable to move on as granite is known to hold energy, and many of the spirits may also be reliving their final moments in a repeating cycle. As the mill continues to get upgrades and improvements done, the paranormal activity does intensify. If you are looking for a place you can tour in Rhode Island, Slater Mill is one option to consider. At number 4, we find the Longfellow Wayside Inn in Sudbury, Massachusetts. The inn dates back to 1686 when the first records were available, including the original inn license granted to the inn's original owner. Over the inn's history, it has changed hands multiple times, with the last private owner being Henry Ford, who sold the property in 1945. Unfortunately, in 1955, the inn was gutted by a fire. Still, thanks to the donation of $500,000 from the Ford Foundation, the inn was restored using original beams, period-correct furniture, and other accessories. When it comes to the inn being haunted, there is no shortage of stories. One of the spirits often reported is that of Jerusha Howe, who passed away at the age of 44 from what many believe to be a broken heart after the man who promised to marry her left and said he would return but never returned. After years of waiting, it is believed she died of a broken heart. Her spirit is often seen in rooms 9 and 4, and there are reports of her being seen in other parts of the inn. Many male guests report her cuddling up with them as they sleep, as she is still looking to fill that gap she has during her life, and it is believed that is why she still resides on this plane. Other reports include strange lights in the parlor and bedrooms, but the most common is the sound of her piano being played without explanation. Visitors have often reported the scent of her perfume, and many written records show the hauntings started after her passing. So we are still determining if other spirits may also reside within the home. While some are afraid of spirits, Jerusha is an exception. It wants attention from those visiting the inn, even briefly. The White Horse Tavern was originally built in 1652 by Francis Brinley as his primary residence. In 1673, he sold the lot to William Mays, who expanded the building to a tavern. Due to the age of the structure, the tavern has witnessed a lot of change over the last 350 years. Over the years, multiple paranormal encounters have been reported by staff and visitors to the tavern, including the spirit of a man who died on the second floor in the 1700s. Even today, his cause of death or even his name is still unknown. At the time of his discovery, the local authorities believed it was smallpox. Other accounts have a woman who wanders the building, and others have reported seeing a man hanging out around one of the fireplaces dressed in colonial clothes. Reports have also been recorded of visitors hearing a young girl crying within the building, even if no children are around or in the building. While the White Horse Tavern is the oldest in the United States, it is also one of the most haunted locations on Rhode Island. So if you do not mind the occasional spirit visiting you while you dine, this location is worth checking out. In the small town of Greenville, Maine, lies the Greenville Inn, also known as the William M. Shaw House, built in 1895. Situated near Moosehead Lake, the inn has a long history in the Moosehead region of Maine. While little information is available about the inn, visitors and home guests have reported multiple types of paranormal activity over the years. Some of the activities reported included hearing voices and tap dancing. We also had reports of visitors seeing a woman walking through the halls of the inn. Like many of the locations on our list, the spirits of the Greenville Inn have been reported as being friendly, and they seem to be more curious to see who is visiting their home than anything else. The Seaside Sanatorium in Waterford, Connecticut takes our #1 spot. Once a thriving medical facility designed to treat children with tuberculosis starting in the 1930s. As the years went on, the facility was changed to elderly housing in 1958, which lasted into 1961, when the facility was again converted to treat and house individuals with developmental disabilities until 1996. The property became available for sale. The state of Connecticut purchased the property and originally signed a contract with developer Dan L. Malloy, who would later sue the state after the governor signed to make the facility into a state park. Today, the sanatorium sits in disrepair, with very few images of the inside available. While the public is not allowed inside the building, the individuals who have entered the sanatorium have reported voices, knocking, cold spots, footsteps, and much more. Today, the public uses the property to relax, walk their dogs, and do other activities. At the same time, the building sits watching over everything. How much longer will this historical landmark be around? That question still needs to be answered, as the building is now considered unsafe. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, and do not forget to subscribe for more videos like this one.